I'm Ryan from Amber Elm. I've always had a complicated relationship with music theory. I actually enjoy studying it and doing analysis and practicing different forms like fugues and even 12-tone music. When I was in school learning all of it, I really couldn't stand it. I felt like it was just kind of getting in the way of me writing music. Up until I started learning theory, I'd been composing music for probably around 5 years. I was able to create music that I enjoyed, others enjoyed it, and they were decent enough to get me into a few different composition programs. At that point in my life, I was deep into studying classical piano. I was listening to mostly skate punk and playing it as well. And listening to Dixieland jazz. I know it doesn't make a lot of sense. And learning whatever pop song the girl I was into really liked. The classical music I was listening to was usually pretty limited to whatever I was learning on piano at the time. During one of my first composition programs, we had a discussion about music theory, and I had outed myself as someone that really had no idea about music theory. And the next day, the teacher asked to see me after class. He had listened to one of the pieces I used in my portfolio and wanted to talk with me about it. He was basically just like, I really like the piece, but I bet every time you sit down to write music, you find something that you like, explore it a bit, but you run out of places to go and can't write pieces longer than 6 or 7 minutes. Not that length really matters or anything. He was right though, and he continued to explain to me how if I learned theory, I'd be able to take the material I was using and expand on it, take it different places. It would basically be like a cheat code for writing music. He wasn't wrong. Theory does open up composition in a way. It can help you get places musically easier, faster, and with an intention that might not have been there before. As an example, earlier this week, I sat down to write some music, and I just banged out 2 notes without really thinking. It was this. I liked how dissonant it was and how it made me feel, and I wanted it to resolve. Without knowing any theory, I absolutely could have gotten there. But knowing theory, I could recognize the 2 notes that I was playing. I could have decided it was a lot of different things, but I decided that these 2 notes would be an F major 7 and 3rd inversion. And that decision framed how I was thinking about resolving it, moving around. It gave me a tonal center, and I got there really quickly. But the question I asked in the title of this video was, do I really need music theory to compose? No. There's a long list of really successful and huge artists that don't know any music theory. One of them is my favorite film composer, Hans Zimmer. Hans Zimmer had no formal training, only taking 2 weeks worth of piano lessons as a kid, but he always listened and explored on his own. Actually, while I was researching this video, I found out that he used to modify the piano and at one point attach chainsaws to one and thought it was an evolution in technology. Anyways, the point is, while he didn't have formal training, he listened a lot, played a lot, and explored constantly. He basically learned all the concepts without learning the vocabulary used to talk about it or knowing what those concepts even were. If you listen to enough music, it becomes pretty easy just to intuit music theory. Just because you don't know that you're composing in, say, the Dorian mode doesn't mean you can't hear those notes sound a certain way. Not knowing that a 5-1 is an authentic cadence or a 4-1 is a plagal cadence doesn't affect your ability to hear it and know how it affects the feeling of your music. Knowing that you can use a deceptive cadence or adding a flat 7 to the 5 chord to change keys quickly ahead of time may make getting to a different key easier to plan out, but it's not necessary. It's just like having more tools in your musical tool chest. A pretty good analogy for this is woodwork. I can build things. I've never worked construction. I haven't really been handy my whole life, but one summer my father-in-law, who was a contractor and can build pretty much anything, helped me build a studio. I watched him frame a wall and then I framed a wall. I watched him hang a door, then I hung a door. He'd put up a sheet of drywall. I think you see where I'm going here. When I wanted to customize my new studio space, I framed out a couple of walls, hung a new door, and put up the drywall. And I was able to do this without knowing why I spaced the 2x4s the way that I did, or if the way I was doing it was, technically the right way. But I got it done, and it's good. Would it be better if I knew the reasoning behind everything I was doing? Maybe. I don't know if it would be better, but over time I bet it would make the whole process faster and more intentional. But if I just kept building with him week in and week out and never learned the why, I think I'd get just as good as building walls and hanging drywall and cursing. Anyways, to bring it back to composition, I think listening and internalizing music is a pretty solid substitute for knowing theory. It may take longer and you won't have the vocabulary to express it to other musicians, but that won't impact your ability to do it. So yeah, if you write music or you're an aspiring composer wondering about theory, I guess my advice would be it won't hurt, but also listen as much as you can, learn to play it, explore it, and try to understand what it's doing. That's all theory is. It's putting words and labels to devices composers have used in the past. One thing I will add is, I guess if you're working for somebody else, it's probably a good idea to know a little bit of music theory, just more so like the vocabulary, so you can kind of communicate. If you're working for somebody else that's in a pretty high position, chances are they're going to know a little bit of theory and they're going to want to be able to communicate with you as fast as possible, especially if you're working on something like a film or you have some sort of deadline. So in that sense, it is a very useful skill to be able to communicate things with people. But yeah, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. It would mean a whole lot to me and also kind of show me that I'm on the right track with content, and you can join our small but growing community. Well, thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.